Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Grim Dawn. Beta build 30 has been released and it's once again jam-packed full of goodies. And as with the previous beta builds, I've gone through the patch notes and gathered all the highlights for you. I'll be covering the major changes, and once we get to the level of skill changes, I'm only going to focus on the Conjurer and the Shaman with respect to the build I'm currently playing, which is a Summoner. Just because talking about all kinds of skills that I'm not using doesn't really make sense in the context of my Let's Play series. But all the general items, I'm just gonna touch upon things. So, first and foremost, the world map. Look at how pretty it has become. It has colors, it has all kinds of lines, and there's a lot of icons here. So, before, the world map contained the portals, and it contained the names of the locations, and that was kind of it. Now all the ruins you have discovered are also shown on the map, and I've got checkboxes on all of the, of course I mean to say devotion shrines, not ruins, they're devotion shrines. So all the devotion shrines you discovered, they're marked on the map, and if you have claimed them, they are checked off. So this is an advancement over what was previously shown in the quest log, which actually has a couple of tabs, and one of them is devotion shrines. So it actually lists all the devotion shrines you've already found. But this was kind of clunky. It's like, okay, yeah, nice, Arcovian foothills. So where are the Arcovian foothills? Well, in this way, you don't have to wander, you just look at the map and you check, hey, where is something without a checkbox? And in my case, I've put checkboxes on everything I've discovered so far, so nothing is left unmarked. So, as you see, we are now at Fort Ikon, as with our progression. So that's pretty good. So that's a big shiny graphics change. As always, the build following a massive previous build will have a bunch of balance fixes, bug fixes, and tuning changes. So all the masteries have received an update as well. That's one of the highlights as well. All the classes, all the skills have been looked at, have been weighed and measured, and balance has been shifted a bit. A lot of things actually have been buffed slightly, which is good, but I'll get into the relevant things later. Let's see. Oh yeah, components. So inventory. So if you've been watching my series, you know I've actually been grumbling about the changes to the components. Not necessarily about that they took the completion bonuses away, but rather that it was really hard to tell completed components from the shards. Now you can actually tell them apart, which is awesome. So I've actually gone through my collection and just shifted them a bit. So on the left side here you see the completed things, and on the right side you see the partial bits that go with it. And you can really see, for example, this one, this is a jawbone. This is more or less a completed jawbone, and here it seems slightly missing some bits. Here there's some blood spatters, and here it's in a flask. It's the same here with the green version and with the ecto. Ballistic plating, this looks like a solid piece of armor plating, and here it's just a small shard of plating. So at a glance it should now be easier to tell what's full and what is not. So for example, there's some unsorted things in here. For example, this one looks like it's a full thing, and yes it is. This one looks like it's pretty complete. This one looks like it's not completed. This one also not completed. So it's easier to look at things and tell what they are, so it's going to be less confusing. So if I just tell it to auto sort again, then it should be slightly easier to tell, like, hey, this is a fully one and this is the partial. So things are sorted more or less together. So that's I'm very pleased to see that. Let's see, what else do I have on the list? Actually just copy pasted the notes and then condensed them on my other screen. So a lot of the new content that was added in the previous beta, so the late Act 4 content, the higher difficulties, legendary items, all of those have received a balance pass as well. So some stats have been changed, some bugs have been fixed. I think in terms to the final boss fight in Act 4, basically the final boss fight of the story. I haven't gone to it yet, but there were 4 or 5 separate entries in the list with fixes and changes they made to make it work better. So I'm actually happy I haven't reached Act 4 yet, because I'm just going to get a very smooth pass through it, because it's been fixed with bugs I didn't even know existed. So I'm very happy for that as well. So let's see what else. The higher difficulties now have a higher chance of dropping epic items and legendary items. So that corresponds with more challenge, meaning more reward. So that's very nice. It gives you more of a purpose to play those higher difficulties when you finish the story the first time through. So apparently it was so that if you were over-leveling monsters by too far, then monsters had a lower chance of dropping rare crafting items, which is unfortunate if you're looking for rare crafting items. And now apparently that gap has been increased, so you can be up to 10 levels above monster levels and still have a good chance of them dropping rare crafting materials before that chance gets diminished. So who knows, I might actually start finding more of those things. So that's good. Chthonian enemies now have a more diversified damage offering. So before they used to do a lot of chaos and vitality damage, which is more or less in line with the primary damage type that Occultist does as well. And they've now been diversified. The patch notes didn't specify what they were doing, but I'm assuming fire is probably going to be important, and as well as lightning and cold, and maybe some more physical. Just basically, I'm expecting just a more across the board damage types, but we'll see if things stand out. Good to know. Also, on monster heroes and bosses, before they were heavily resisting crowd control effects, and now those have been lessened a little bit, and it is possible if you have certain debuff skills that you can actually turn their immunities into just reduced duration effects if you apply it strongly enough. So if you have a build that relies a lot on crowd control, you should no longer get stumped by bosses, but you actually should have a chance to use your primary tools to fight that boss. So that sounds like a very nice thing as well. Let's see. Also, the magical item of the magical affix table. So the things that get applied to your magical items, like in this case, these impenetrable plated shots of thorns. Impenetrable and thorns are things that apply magical effects to them. In this case, impenetrable adds the 19% pierce resistance, and the thorns applies the pierce retaliation. All those mods, they have received a balance pass, tuning pass, and have been sorted out a bit so that, for example, level 25 or higher magic weapons will always roll with a mod that gives you extra damage, just to reduce the amount of trash items you get and make them more relevant. Magical medals and belts can also roll percentage damage bonuses, so apparently they were not doing that before. So that's once again very useful. Let's see, they also increased the chance of rolling rare affixes from crafting by 30% and the chance of crafting a double rare by 25%. And if I remember reading about crafting correctly, a double rare basically means that if you get a green one that has a double of multiple rare mods on it rather than just magical mods, because a green is a mix of magical modifiers, so that's the stuff that can roll on the yellow ones, and rare ones that can only appear on the green ones. So it now has a higher chance of rolling two things that can only appear on green ones. So basically means crafted green items should be on average be better than they were before. So that's an incentive to craft stuff. So that's always good. Also the low-level epic items, relics, things like that. Crafting has been simplified, so apparently that means there's going to be less very exotic requirements. Didn't specify exactly what, but it's going to be simpler, so might be worth having a look at. A lot of craftable items, relics, components have received a tuning pass, as well as the crafting components. I mean, all these things, a lot of them have received some changes in some way or another. And legendary items also have received a tuning pass and mostly received small buffs. So, legendaries are more awesome. Then we get towards skills. There is a note that applies to all classes, and that is taunt mechanics have been updated to be more effective. So my first reaction was like, hey, wow, this game has taunting mechanics. So probably I wasn't the only one that was wondering about it, because they actually highlight it now. There's a war cry. I'm assuming it's a soldier skill. Sounds like a soldier skill. That's now a taunt. So that means monsters will be forced to attack you, or they will make you the first target to attack. All other skills will related to taunting will now generate additional threat rather than doing outright taunts, and that's now indicated as well. So a couple of examples. For example, if you look at the Hellhound, the Ember Claw, it now says generates threat. It didn't used to do that, if I remember correctly. And checking Grimcock also says doesn't mention it. For the Shaman, Ground Slam also generates a threat. So when I get to a little bit of gameplay this episode, we're gonna have a look, see if the monsters are now actually better at capturing the attention see if my minions are better at capturing my opponent's attention, or if I still have to be running around in circles. Because as you have been seeing for the past couple of episodes, monsters have been doing a lot of damage, and I've been kiting a lot, and most of the time my pets have been unable to pull my assailants away from me. So maybe now that is fixed, and that would actually change everything, because that would mean I can focus less on defense, more on offense, and I've been thinking about maybe playing with a two-handed ranged weapon rather than a melee, and changing my build a bit, freeing up some skill points to putting more points into pets. So if the threat mechanics now actually work as they should, that opens up new build opportunities. So that's very awesome. Okay, so but that was a general thing. Devotion. A lot of the star signs have received some small changes, large changes, some shifts as well. So if you fire up your character, make sure to double check your devotion points. It might be that some points have been refunded and you have to reallocate them because they have been shifted. That was an explicit note in the patch. Or there was an explicit point in the patch note. Double check your devotion point assignments. Okay, so now we go towards skill point changes for the Occultist, and I don't really use a lot of changes from the Occultist, and the only relevant patch note in this case was that the Summon Familiar, the Raven, meant, so that's the heal. The flat heal scaling has been boosted at mid and higher ranks. So that's basically the point bonus, so the 210 health restored, 245 health restored, that's been boosted a bit. That's good, that means that there's always a guaranteed a better heal. Okay, next up, Shaman, and there's actually more skills here. So when they go totem, in the previous patch it actually received a small tune down in terms of healing. That has been reverted and it actually heals more now. So that's good, because I like the healing from the totem, it's pretty potent. Mock Dragon's Pact, my aura. The healing has been slightly boosted, which is useful. Especially since it helps keep the pets alive, me alive, and all that stuff. The Heart of the Wild and the Oakskin both have received some buffs as well. I mean, they appeared weak enough that I didn't even bother putting points into them. So maybe they are now worth spending points in, but given that I'm now thinking about maybe switching to a two-handed setup, I might actually just drop this entirely and rely on Vinegar Totem and Raven for healing, and use these 5 points on other things. So, but that's slightly unrelated. Primal Strike now supports two-handed ranged weapons rather than only melee weapons, and Thunderous Strike as a side effect now also works off of two-handers rather than melee. So the Shaman is no longer pigeonholed into two-handed melee. You can also go for two-handed range, and it's a bit more viable, so it's definitely a good one. And Emboldening Roar, so that's the final skill of the Briarthorn. All damage and offensive ability has been increased, and as well physical and vitality resistances have been added. And in exchange, the duration and the cooldown have been reduced a bit. So it's just gonna fire a bit more often for shorter turns, for shorter durations. But it's gonna do more. So who knows? Might be useful as well. But I'm not there yet. I still have to invest a lot of points before I can use it. And that was everything I had to say about the changes. We'll just see how it turns out. For now, I'm already 16 minutes into the episode, so I'm just gonna run around a little bit. Basically, we're gonna check out the taunting threat mechanics, see how they work. Last episode, of course, I conquered the gates. Now it's actually being guarded by the Black Legion. There's an exit here, but this has been sealed by the Black Legion. Basically, this is now one of our towns, which is pretty cool. Captain Reeve. This is a good time. We have an incursion to deal with. Farewell. Right, so, you, Inquisitor Creed. Good, you've arrived. Things here are in worse shape than I thought. What happened? Betrayal, sabotage, call it what you will. We've been attacked from within. The Ethereals, it seems, have gotten a hold of the commander. Wait, he's been possessed? Precisely. Based on the report, Commander Lucius has been sending our men on futile missions, thinning out the fort's defenses. Then, once the watch was sufficiently weak, he opened the gates, allowing the Ethereals to pour in. He was not counting on human ingenuity, however. Weapons Master Eldrick collapsed in the front gate with some explosives, cutting off the enemy's forces. When we arrived with reinforcements from the south, the coward Lucius fled into the armory. Until those gates are cleared, we are stuck here. I need you to enter the armory and recover what's left of the heavy explosives. Use them to clear the rubble. But beware of Lucius. He has shed his human disguise in favor of a monstrous form, which I cannot even begin to describe. You will likely have to deal with him to get to the explosives. So, we can do that. Black Legion scouting report for the Necropolis. Let's see, I have my inventory here. Commander Lucius ordered a scouting mission to the north. When I asked what we should be looking for, he almost lost his temper and said, "Anything that might cause a disturbance." His reaction seemed rather out of place and strange. The commander is not known for such outbursts. It also struck me odd the way he used the word disturbance. I took the scouting squad through the north gate and almost immediately started seeing some ethereal activity. We changed our course and headed for the hills rather than traveling the main road. It took longer, but we avoided large numbers of the ethereal dead. They appear to be gathering in the north in preparation for an attack. Their numbers have swelled tremendously since my last mission outside the walls. The return trip is going to prove difficult. I sent one of my scouts back to report this information immediately. Heading north, we passed the Necropolis. From the mountain top, we did not see anything unusual. Searching as far as we could on our resources, we discovered nothing but the accursed blood occultists everywhere. Avoiding them made our progress slow. We did see one strange thing of note. The cultists appear to be collecting blood in vast quantities and hauling them in wagons filled with large glass cisterns. We followed for a bit to see where they were being taken, but we were spotted and forced to retreat. Signed by Sergeant Marius Castellan. So we have some scouts to follow. Weapon Master Edric, So you can probably get Fort's seen better days. It's going to take every able-bodied man and woman to bring Fort Ikon back to its former glory. Care to lend a hand? Sure. What do you need? I need someone capable to enter the armory. Hey, that's where I'm going anyway. And recover what's left of our scrap and building materials. The supplies were originally designated for Homestead, but with the recent attacks we can't afford to spare any resources. After Lucius opened the gates and Ethereal started pouring through, I had no choice but to collapse our own gates with explosives. Repairs will take weeks, but we can't get started without those supplies. Unfortunately, the possessed commander has fled into the armory, perhaps to finish sabotaging what's left of our arsenal. I hear you are experienced with dealing with ethereals, so I was hoping you could look into this matter. Well, I will help you out, sir. Okay, so let's set a couple of steps into the armory. Actually, not gonna go there and do an entire clear, because it sounds like it's gonna be a full-blown mission. This is not the armory I'm looking for. Also, let's make you both aggressive and put you on defensive. Okay. Here, armory. Where are you? Ah, okay. Enemies, that also works for me. Okay, so how good are my pets at generating threat? Well, I'm running. Monsters are following. Maybe I should have them on defensive rather than aggressive. I was assuming that aggressive meant they would go after enemies and defensive meant they would stay back. But it might be that they, with defensive, they will actually focus on attacking the things that are attacking me. Maybe I set Hellhound to be aggressive and the Briarthorn to be defensive. So I'm actually just gonna hang back a bit here and see what the pets do. So far that works better. Okay, so down a totem. Okay. So I'm not really peeling a lot of aggro off, but maybe that's because I have some level 1 skills. This way. I mean, I've got a level 1 Ember Claw and I've got a level 5 Ground Slam. You would expect something from a level 5 Ground Slam. Okay, let's set you both to aggressive. So the thing is, if I'm playing a build that really doesn't want to engage in melee, then I need to be able to rely on my pets. If they have reworked the threat mechanics, they better work. At least in a reliable and predictable fashion. Because otherwise, changing to a ranged build is kind of suicidal. If you have a ranged build that's basically meant to be played as ranged, and not ending up basically just shooting with a ranged gun at point blank because your monsters can't be bothered to defend you. Right. Let's see, Esperia, the supporter. They are doing quite some damage. So stop trying to murder me. Monsters these days. No respect. Ether Blaze, that's another one. Okay, say bye, say goodbye. Yes, thank you. Oh, and Esperia. So, yeah. My monsters are way off. And sometimes being dead. Yeah, I definitely need to have a bit of a look at my more defensive and healing skills, see if I can keep my pets alive. as a note for the whole skill changing thing. Also, I noticed that Ground Slam, if you boost it further than the stun it has, will become better. Hopefully the threat will increase as well. And boosting Ment to the maximum will also mean that the Raven is better able to protect everybody. So we'll see. I'm just gonna have a quick look at that. I think for now that this is it. Just a quick show. So there's no major noticeable changes to the threat mechanics as far as I can see. It now says that the threat is generated, but to be honest, the numbers of the threat numbers don't appear to be significant enough. The pets are not capable of holding their own threat just yet. But I'm gonna do a bit of more research. I'll just play with skills and see what works and not. And next episode I'll report back and let you know what I found, if changing the build worked, or if it turns out that no, my idea was based on something that didn't turn out to work in practice. So either way, I thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the overview of the patch notes, and I'll see you again next time, maybe with a new build. So bye bye.